And we are live. Hello and welcome to Developer Insights. I'm David.
And I'm Justin.
And together we are leads on game development and design here at Codename.
We also founded Codename too.
We're going to be your hosts for this episode and for every episode.
Always sounds so ominous. But all that means is when we're not here, the show doesn't happen.
It's true.
Today is our 114th episode.
And it says here, yep, right here on my hand, that today's episode, that we have a new sponsor. What's this about?
Yes. Today's episode is sponsored by generic brand cough medicine. Generic brand. We'll stop your cough or your next one's free.
Wait, generic brand cough medicine?
Yeah, well, yeah, I didn't want to pay to use like an actual brand name in this silly humor segment, so...
I mean, joke's on you. Generic brand's lawyers just emailed us a cease and desist.
Generic brand. Anyway, today we are here to answer your development and design questions about Idle Champions.
You know, actually, I had a thought. Doesn't the sponsors work the other way around, Justin? Like, if we were sponsored, they would pay us.
Yeah, I know, but we're not actually sponsored.
Okay, that's true. Still, the least you could do is like make it like that's kind of a plot hole. I don't know. All right. Yes.
Well, if you
anyway,
thought that was a plot hole, just wait for this next segment.
Okay. All of that said, if you don't ask any questions, you may have to suffer through Justin's one-man reenactment of his deposition during the generic brand lawsuit against Code. Okay.
Yeah. No, it's my depositions. It's essentially exactly the same as Dev Insights. Someone asked me a question, and then I plead the fifth.
And you think generic brand is going to ask you about patron variant rewards? Do you?
Oh, man. I plead the fifth.
Can't even do that. You're Canadian.
I
right.
plead the Canadian equivalent.
It's true.
The fifth, eh?
It sounds like something you would drink. Anyway, as always, we have pulled forward some questions from the previous show that we didn't get to, so we will answer some of those while we are waiting for new questions to come in. But before we get to those, it always says here that I have some updates. This week, I don't have updates. I do have items that are flagged, still get looked at. Peter is actually out this week, so we didn't get any updates on those. But let's just jump over to that first, and then we'll get into last week's questions. All right. As I said, we don't have anything new on the fixes and new features list, but we do still have our in-progress list, which includes but is not limited to increasing the bounty contract use to 1,000. Adding tooltips for potions so you can see what's active without clicking, adding a type /sort filter to the quest tracker, having the ability to access opening, viewing, buying, and showing chests for a champion on the champion sheet directly without having to go to other locations in the game, adding attack types and roles to the bench seat formation champion hover pop-up. I feel like that was done. We'll check that. And adding an option to always show all bench seats, even if you don't have enough gold for them. Okay, announcements. You want to announce that, or should I just, Have you read the blog from last week?
Yes, we did a blog last week about collections and events 2.0, and if you haven't read it yet, pause the video, go read it, and we'll be right here when you get back.
I mean, I hope, as long as they don't read really, really slowly.
Welcome back.
I guess
hope
they
you've had
paused
time
the
to read it.
video. Can you pause the live stream and have it resume where you were?
I think so. And if they're watching the VOD, then that works.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah. You can pause a live stream on YouTube. Can you not pause a live stream on Twitch?
I don't think you can, actually. I think it just resumes from like where live is, I think. I could be wrong. I know for sure you're right about YouTube, though.
Yeah.
Anyway.
This isn't on YouTube? What? Where are we streaming? What's going on? I'm in a box again. I don't know what's happening.
Oh, yeah, they are saying you can't pause the live stream on Twitch.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, moving on. Let's have some questions from last week. First of last week's questions was from Peter DePan. And Peter DePan would like to know, if we are buying the chests instead of grinding them out in Events 2.0, will the pity timer of getting a gold chest after the 3 silver chests still exist?
So I included this question because the answer is none of the above. So there won't be a pity timer because when you're buying chests, I think the way it'll work is you'll buy basically packs of chests.
You have to buy 3 silvers and then you get a gold.
Yeah, a pack of chests I think is 1 gold and 2 silver. And so every time you make a purchase, you'll get 1 gold and 2 silver for the cost. I think right now it's 7,500 tokens for 1 gold and 2 silver.
Okay. Justin is always quiet. That's the
I'm just a
problem.
quiet person, okay?
I can try and boost him. He's already at 100%.
Put me to 11, Dave.
Let's try that.
Yeah. The idea with that pricing is it's essentially exactly the same as if you ran free plays at 2,500 tokens each and got the kind of average distribution, which is 1 gold chest to 2 silver chests.
Use your outdoor voice, Justin. Okay. Next question. This one is from Fewer Pills. So with champs redistribution with events, there will be probably multiple champs in the same seat, right?
Yes. As it turns out, there will be multiple champions in the same in the same seats, bench seats in I think every event. I'm just looking at the numbers over here on my other monitor. Yeah, and then there's actually a couple where there are 3 champions in the same seat. We tried very hard to avoid that, but it was nigh unavoidable, I think. Just because we needed to maintain, or we wanted to maintain the existing champions, including retired champions from each event that survived. And there were several events where we had not really paid attention to the seats of old retired champions when we were adding new ones in. So there was already some duplication there. And then when we were moving champions around, there was some additional stuff. So yes, there are two events right now on the docket where there are 3 champions in each seat, or not in each seat, but in one of the seats. But for the most part, it's 1 or occasionally 2. So we tried to distribute it pretty evenly. And that'll actually be one of the things that we will kind of try and do when we're putting in new champions into these events, is try and even out that seat distribution within the event, since we won't have to worry so much about having duplicate seats anymore.
Mm. This is the champion seat principle, which is a corollary to the pigeonhole principle.
Yes.
Okay, next question is from... All right, I know what that says, but I want to read it as tomato eating joker, but that says tomatin joker. Anyway, did you ever think about implementing a counter so you can see what the max area was that you cleared per adventure?
Yes, I think we have that as a feature in the collection dialogue. And I say I think because I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure I saw it, but I feel like somebody said it might get pulled. I do know the data for that isn't 100% retroactive. So yeah, there might be some issues with that. But I think we are planning to put one into the collection dialogue so you can see your highest area per adventure in there.
I mean, that is data we track, is it not?
I was looking through the stat table yesterday looking for it. Jarrett said that there was a value there for it. I couldn't see it, but I might have been searching for the wrong string, since there's several hundred different stat strings there. And I did not individually read through them. Yeah.
I think it's on the 1,000 at this point. But yeah, I thought we did have like one. I thought per campaign, per adventure, or like...
We definitely have it per campaign. I know that because we use that for Kent. As I think Mars commented here in the question. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it is in there. I think it's one of those stats that ballooned out pretty big. Anyway. Yeah. Next question is from Moses Karada. How will favor from event 2.0 be generated or be granted post an event? Seasons would roll out to all favors, but current events only roll out to one that you choose. Will new event favor go out to all?
So the new event, or in events 2.0, the favor will work the same way it does in events 1.0. The difference there, I do have a flag to update the rate so that because we're going from 17 events down to 12 events, we don't want to have that be an overall nerf. to your permanent campaign favor rates. So we're going to try to adjust the rate that that those question or that those that the favor is converted at, so that you can get a similar amount of favor in your permanent campaigns from Events 2.0.
Yes, Moses Karanda, that's from last week. This is in the current chat. They're asking. They don't remember asking that.
I see that.
Yeah.
That was the last. I also don't remember what happened last week, so that's fair. We got one more question from last week, then we'll get on to the new ones.
Yeah. Okay. Last question from last week is from Foolish Genius 89, asking, "Can you please show us an average item level on the picking event champ screen?"
Yes, so that is something that I have flagged that we want to include on there. I'm not sure if it'll make it out for the initial Events 2.0. It was something that was flagged in one of our reviews lately. I also want to have sorting and filtering options for the picking event champ screen, so that you're able to kind of sort by like average item level, amount of gear that they have, sort of their event progress, tiers progress, all sorts of stuff like that. So it makes it much easier to kind of figure out what champions you want to work on if you've got a certain priority for them. And of course, that'll help as well as we move forward through Events 2.0. Every year, there'll be more and more champions associated with every event, and the question of which ones you pick for your flex slots will become more challenging as you go, because you'll just have more options. So yeah, that is something that we want to show there.
Okay. All right. On to this week's questions. First question out of the gate came from Garwar, asking, after Events 2.0 comes out, can we expect a Time Gates 3.0 rework that brings them more in line with Events 2.0? Perhaps allow us to work on the various tiers of rewards across multiple Time Gates.
Yeah, this is a good question. One of the big sort of question marks that's left on the sort of design side is what Time Gates look like in a post Events 2.0 world. For the release of Events 2.0, I think they're just going to look very similar to the current ones. You'll just always do sort of the tier 1 variants in there. But I think they will need some adjustments to kind of work better with Events 2.0. And before we did the design for Events 2.0, we actually did have a design for essentially a Time Gates 3.0 kind of thing. But I think a lot of the stuff that we designed into that has kind of gotten superseded by Events 2.0. And so I would expect that we need to go back to the drawing board and take another kick at that can, if you will.
Okay. Next question. This one is from Fewer Pills. Could you add the option to use multiple of the same potion via Modron automation, and also increase the max zone Modron can use potions to higher than 999?
Yeah, that all sounds good. I think we've talked before about sort of making improvements to the Modron automation potion usage. Is that, I mean, we've talked about that before, right? And sort of maybe doing like potion loadouts and letting you pick what area to initialize a loadout at.
There's definitely been like there's a lot of stuff that we could do to make that a little bit more customizable, and by a little bit I mean a lot more customizable. I didn't realize it was capped at 999 for the potion usage, because I know we did increase the max level reset higher than that. But I mean, I think for now, sort of the holdover is to use familiars on potions in the potion manager, because then you can at least have potions continue to be activated throughout the Modron run. It is one of those questions that I would have of sort of where the value comes from, you know, at the point at which, like, if you're activating a medium potion at area, 1200, I'm not 100% sure what the use case would be over just sort of example having the familiars keeping potions active from the potion manager. But definitely that whole section could use more options for actually automating the way those get used. But like I said, I do wonder about sort of where the useful levers are, and what is just sort of like, oh well, cool, I can activate this at area 1500, great. But, seeing in the chat, Just saying familiars on the potion manager don't save, though. Is that what the issue was?
I know we've had it reported that they don't get recalled properly or something like that.
Yeah, but they do
And
appear.
Peter
I mean,
looked
we
at
did
that
test
and he was
that,
like,
and that
"That
was happening.
doesn't work for, or doesn't happen for him."
But that could have. I mean, I tested it too, and they were getting recalled just fine. So I think that might have been just someone described it incorrectly.
Maybe, yeah.
Because if they're not saving, that's a different story. Yeah, we can definitely tag that. Okay.
Ooh.
Next question. This question is from Numantis. Are you happy with the idea that it will take 3+ years for completionists to complete all of the new tiers for each champ due to how many champs they will be able to flex in each event cycle? It would be really cool if there was a way to progress the tiers via time gates as well.
Yeah, so I think the short answer to this is I think the time to sort of complete every champion in the game at this point is or as of events 2.0 will be quite a bit shorter than it was before events 2.0. Events 2.0 kind of serve some of the purpose that time gates served in terms of accessing some of that older content with the retired champions. But I think there is still some work to be done there. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, sort of figuring out what time gates look like in this Events 2.0 world is something that's going to be pretty important after we get Events 2.0 out and after we do our iteration on that based on player feedback once it gets in front of you guys. I think we'll kind of move through this. I think 2 or 3 years to 100% a game as massive as Idle Champions, it's not super egregious in my mind, especially completely for free in a free-to-play game. So yeah, I mean, I think trying to keep it around there is probably where we want to shoot for. Obviously, this is something that over time kind of changes, right? Because like when we first rolled out events, you could get caught up in like a year, and when we were 3 years into events, it was still around a year because you get all 3 of the older champions. And we went to the 4th one. Now you kind of need time gates to work into that. And as we got to the 5th and 6th years, you got 3 years with the champions from events. But the other 3 you needed to go through time gates, and that started to stretch out and get really, really long. And so Events 2.0 is trying to snap that back to something that's more reasonable. And I think as Events 2.0 goes on, probably like 3 or 5 or 6 years from now, we'll have to reevaluate again to make sure that we can pull it back to that timeline that makes sense.
Okay. Next question. This one is from Phoenixian Ultimatum. Any insights you can give into which events are going away in Events 2.0 and where the champions being displaced will end up?
Sure. I mean, I can talk a little bit about that. No, they don't. They get redistributed to other events. It's all good.
Okay. All right.
So it's a little bit awkward here. The very first year, this year in 2024, the 12 events that were, or sort of the 10 events that we're going to run are going to be very slightly different from the events we will run in 2025 and moving forward. And that's because the event that we're going to run, the very first event in March, is going to be Festival of Fools. And in future years, Festival of Fools will actually be the April event. And the reason that we're running it then is because we've had event 1.0 sort of for the first several weeks of or the first 2 months of the event or of the year, which have kind of offset things a little bit. So Festival of Fools will be a surviving event that will survive in April. And in April of this year, we'll be running the Greengrass event for the final time. Because that will be our April event this year, but it will be replaced by Festival of Fools next year. So Greengrass is one of the events that will technically not survive moving forward. The 4 other ones that did not make the cut are Midwinter, The Running, Midsummer, and Bright Swords. Apparently we hate the middle of things, so Midwinter and Midsummer are gone. The Running and Bright Swords, and then Greengrass after this year. Now I know there's another question in here somewhere that I think I highlighted, where someone was asking about whether when you for the displaced champions, the ones from those events that are gone away, um, when you play them in their new events, will you still be playing the old event adventures? And the answer is yes. So if there was a champion that was initially in the running, then they will their adventures will still be the old running adventure, and the other champions in that event will do whatever adventures they are initially from. So those old adventures will still exist for all of the first 6 or 7 years of those champions. There just won't be any new variants or adventures in those events, unfortunately. And this was something that we actually debated quite a bit. I think we mentioned on last week's episode, we debated whether or not to kind of have the same 12 events run every year, or whether to kind of switch it up from year to year. But I think at the end of the day, we decided that just the consistency of having the same 12 events each year and having the same sets of champions available in them each year would be just more easy to grok than having it kind of be a little bit random, and you never know whether, say, Briv's going to pop up in the May event or the June event or the July event based on whether their events get shifted around or they get orphaned that year or whatever.
Yeah, and additionally, unless sort of you covered it, they would also not come up as frequently if we were rotating through 18 events through 18 months rather than 12.
Yeah, I guess the other part of this question was where the champions being displaced will end up. So the champions that were originally from Midwinter, Greengrass, the Running, Midsummer, and Bright Swords, and Festival of Fools this year. Or sorry, not Festival of Fools. Which one's getting moved this year? Yeah. I'm not sure. Whichever event we're not running this year, Fleet's Wake, I think, is the one that's getting redistributed this year. Anyway, those ones will get distributed to other events. We're trying to distribute them to events that are close to their events in the calendar year. There's a couple that might get spread out a couple of months out from their events, but for the most part, they're getting spread out to other events. So they'll still be available in events 2.0. They just won't be in their original event that they were in events 1.0.
Okay, next question. This one is from Numantis. Are you able to talk yet about any roadmap plans for things you're planning on working on next once events 2.0 and collections are out? Yeah, Justin, what's next after these big updates?
It's like, yeah, events 2.0 collections, that's old news. What's next?
They're not even out yet.
Yeah, so we don't have solid plans. We're really kind of
How about that apothecary, Justin? You get the...
Well, so we're really focused on getting events 2.0 and collections out. The next step after those go out will be, as I mentioned earlier, iterating on your feedback from them and trying to get them into a good place. I imagine that'll take us several events and probably a couple of months to get collections right where folks want it. At that point, I think we'll start to look at some of the other things we've talked about, on the show, like the apothecary, potentially trials updates, legendary crafting updates, and things like that. And we'll really free up quite a bit of time for just bug fixes and optimizations too, I would imagine. So hopefully we'll be able to spend some time doing that as well. Which I think, under seasons, we were able to get a bit of that done. I think there were a couple of times throughout the year last year where we were able to dedicate several weeks to that kind of stuff. But hopefully we'll be able to dedicate like maybe a full developer to that for a month or two.
Get some performance fixes in there.
Yeah. Get the game to actually run well on some of the consoles where it's not running well right now.
Convert the whole thing to Unreal.
Yeah.
All right.
All that time we've saved by not doing seasons, eaten up by trying to convert it to Unreal. So I know a good 2D engine. It's Unreal.
All right.
Let's see. The next question here is from Loopy79, who asks, can we get an adjustment to the character dialogue to show baseline stats in white, as they're currently displayed, with current stats, accounting for feats, plus stat formation, or for plus stat formation abilities, etc., in green brackets next to it?
Well, that's a good question. When I saw this, I was actually thinking to myself, I wonder if we updated those to show the updated values, or if they just remain with the base. But it doesn't show which ones have been modified. Yeah, I think that's a good idea, actually. I'm going to tag it.
I mean, I think the updating the character profile dialogue is one of those things that we could potentially work on after Events 2.0, because that's one of those things that we've wanted to do for a very long time.
It's getting a little long in the tooth, too, in terms of just like the style of it.
Yeah, exactly. Especially looking at it compared to like the shop and Events 2.0 and some of the other dialogues we've done more recently. I think that would be a good one to do as well. And that's something that this is something we could do on it when we did that.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, next question is from Numantis. Would you consider raising the rate at which event favor converts to main campaign favor now that there are fewer events to convert each year, and that there's no season buff to gain, or season buff favor gain?
Yes, I did mention this earlier in the show. I just wanted to highlight this here. That yes, we will be increasing the rate at which event favor converts to evergreen campaign favor to account for the fact that there are less events.
Okay. Looks like it's that time, Justin.
Oh my gosh, is it really that time already? Time has flown by. Only like 7 questions in this week. It's time for the giveaway. The
generic giveaway.
Famous generic giveaway. And people are trying to guess the thing. Cough medicine is a good guess. It appears to be that the keyword is #generic giveaway this week. The way this works, if you haven't been in one of our streams before, we love to give away chests. We give away 42 gold chests every week, and the way you can enter to have a chance to win that is by typing this special keyword into chat. It's #generic giveaway, a couple of capital G's in there. If your name is drawn, you will get 42 chests of your choice. It can be any type of chest that exists in the game, except for Glory of Bahamut chests. And it has to be a type of chest that exists right now. You can't go diving into the data and try and get chests for champions that aren't released yet, or for weekend promos that aren't out yet, or things like that. Well, if spoilers, I see you. Good luck to everyone.
Yeah, this week I'd actually like to get a bourbon red chest. Perhaps a South Mexican chest.
Okay.
An oscillated chest.
Oscillated chest.
A Narragansett chest. How about a bronze chest? White chest? A Beltsville small chest.
Are these types? Alpha Kroll says types of birds.
Oh, close. Types of turkeys.
Types of turkeys. Oh, very good. Pneumatis. I think you win that one, unless somebody else mentioned turkeys somewhere up here. Congratulations. Always fun to play a little bit of Only Connect in the middle.
It's
of
one
our,
category, Justin.
All right, let us move on to some additional questions. The next question here is from Emote, and they ask, all champions, with the exception of Ishii, seem to cap their attack cooldown at 25% of their base attack cooldown. So Kent, with 4 seconds, can cap at 1 second. However, a number of champion attack animations actually appear to take longer than the time their attack caps at, and the animations don't get interrupted, meaning they won't actually attack as fast as the UI states. Is this how it actually works, or just how it appears to work, like a visual glitch or something?
To the best of my knowledge, that is how it actually works. That there are certain sort of minimum time steps in the game for things, and the minimum time step typically is either is a completed event, and by event I mean like the animation completing, and or in some cases it's like some things the minimum time is like a single frame. But yeah, unless some one of the developers went out of their way to actually make this cut off the animations, which I don't think anyone has actually sort of looked into, because it isn't something that would immediately come to mind.
It's also something that we do think about when we design the champions, and we try and make sure that if we're going to have a champion who can attack very, very quickly, that we try and flag that for art to make sure that the animations aren't too fast. But it could be that there's some older champions or some champions with really complicated attack animations that just don't sneak in under their kind of minimum limit there.
Yeah, so that is how it actually works.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I think, as sort of Justin, you're alluding to, it's not something that we would be considering changing.
I mean, I don't know. I'm concerned that pulling at that thread might break a bunch of stuff just on the animation system side on the front end.
Yeah, it definitely would be complicated to figure out the cases where that was happening, and then like I could see us speeding up the animations, for example, but it would add a bunch of additional I'm not sure that the animation system level knows that the animation would need to be played faster at that level. Like there's a bunch of information that would have to be passed along to make sure that that completed quicker if it had to be completed quicker. So I too would hesitate to modify that, but yeah. Temporarily uncap the frame rate.
Feels like the juice would not be worth the squeeze there, as they say.
I have heard that before. Yeah.
Let's see. The next question here is from Pneumatis, our turkey champion of the day, who asks, "Will we be getting a cleanup of the blessings dialogue? We've got a bunch of old favors that will no longer exist. I feel like the dialogue in general could do with a bit of love to make it easier to navigate, rather than having a huge horizontal scroller of favor icons."
Yeah, I got to agree with that. Like the definitely those horizontal scrollers, whether it was the favor or whether it's champions or other, it didn't scale very well.
Yeah,
it's hard to.
When we put that dialogue together, we had 2 favors in the game.
Yeah, we're good. We've got room for 6 more before there's even a scroll. It'll be fun. Yeah. 8 months later, problem had already started to occur. But definitely something would be nice to change that. I don't exactly know sort of where on the priority queue that's going to end up getting looked at, but certainly sort of in the same vein as like the character dialogue getting a revamp. I know it's one of those things that Adam is very itching to do after doing new UI for Events 2.0 and for collections, because it's got a bit of an updated style to it that definitely makes the other dialogues look a little bit out of date.
Favor window 3.0, yes.
Yes.
Getting everyone on board the 2.0, 3.0 thing.
Yeah. And anyway, I mean, it certainly would be very nice to be able to go through and read and sort of update those. Sort of the biggest caveat that we run into that is sort of balancing adding new features and fixes with the visual updates, because visual updates, while are nice, don't sort of they don't add something. So we have to balance that.
Right.
Okie dokie. Cool. Next question. This one is from Gauntlet Blade. Will the champions from the first event 2.0 still be the same as they would be for 1.0?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, the kind of surviving events, every time an event runs, the sort of base set of champions that are available to choose as flex champions, and it will be the champions from that event from all time, so from year 1 all the way up to year 6. And then there'll be a couple of extra champions that were sort of redistributed from other events that are getting sent up state. So for Festival of Fools, which will be our first Events 2.0 in March, you'll be able to pick from Strix, Rosie, Briv, Alindra, Tatiana, I don't know why I didn't finish my thumb over here, Miria, and then we'll also have a couple of Midwinter champions in there too, it looks like. We'll have Regis and Cathris, and then of course we'll have Redacted and Redacted as the featured champions, which I think we've already announced Redacted and Redacted, so looking forward to everyone being able to play with them.
Really? Are you sure it's not going to be Redacted? Because I think redacted is a better choice than redacted.
We thought a lot about having redacted in there, but we decided in the long run that redacted would be a better champion.
Maybe next time.
Yeah. I mean, there's always a future event for redacted. You haven't seen the last of redacted. I'm pretty sure about that.
Oh, dear. Okie dokie.
Let's see. The next question here is from
pronounce it.
Mustafafi, who asks, will the new collection system be available from the main screen or the campaign screen? I imagine they're asking the campaign map screen. I.e., will it be accessible without starting a run? That would be a great improvement over the current way where we have to start a run to check anything. Are we adding a collections button to the thing? I feel like we did, actually.
Does it work without loading the game or loading a map, though? Because it probably could. Most of that data comes back independently, right? Do we link out to anything there, though?
I mean, everything's just so spaghetti at this point. I feel like we have flag to put it there. I'm trying to look through like the last set of feedback, but I don't have that doc open anymore.
Yeah, I mean, some of that stuff gets a little challenging because like you can't go to the store from the main screen.
Well, that seems like a problem for us to fix, not a.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the question is, will it be available from the map? Potentially not right away. Would be nice though.
I was thinking about this because we were also talking about putting a button to bring up the event dialogue from the campaign map,
which has the same problem.
Which has probably has some similar problems. But it made me think like because we've got the patron one there right now. We've got the season one there, I think, right now, which assumedly would have the same problem of not being able to go to the store. Yeah, it feels like the campaign map dialogue actually is one of those things that's in need of a refresh as well. Like I remember seeing I was looking through the like the event FAQ or something for events 1.0, and it had a picture of the campaign map because it was showing off how to get to the event
Is it
campaign.
wrong?
And no, it was right, but the little ribbon on the left side that shows like all the campaigns, it had two items in it. It had the event and it had the grand tour of the Sword Coast. And now you look at it now, like it didn't have time gates, didn't have trials, didn't have like any of the 6 or 7 campaigns. And so I think maybe a look of that. Yeah, map screen 2.0. There we go. Everything needs to be 2.0. It'll be like, they say like the human body, like over 7 years, you replace all the cells in your body or something like that. So you're not actually the same person you were 7 years ago on a strictly like cellular basis. I think it's a myth, but the same kind of thing stands. We're going to 2.0 everything in the game at some point.
Are we going to do it one dialogue element at a time?
One cell at a time. Yeah, one pixel at a time.
That sounds like it's going to take a long time. I mean, I thought the lesson you were getting there was we should actually just remove all of those features so it's back down to 2 buttons. And it's perfect.
Yeah. Sure.
We don't have space on the dialogue for time gates, so we're taking it out. You can still access it via the hotkey. All right. Next question. This is from OG17. Will the collection's rework contain adventure dialogue? If so, will it only show for the current adventure or include all completed? When viewed in the current journal, there are still chunks that do not show correctly.
Yes, I think if I'm reading this question correctly, and I was distracted by chat while you were asking me, but yes, the collections dialogue does contain the ability to view the journal with all of the dialogue and the quest text from any adventure that you have completed in the past. So it won't show it for the current adventure, it won't show it for adventures you haven't been into yet, but any adventure that you've completed in the past, it will show. I guess it would show it for the current adventure if you've completed it previously and you're playing like a variant or a free play. But so yes, that will all be in there.
Yep.
Yes.
Currently is all in there.
Which was quite an accomplishment because obviously we do not send all that data back from the server to the client all the time. So I think we had to make a change so that you could request that kind of on a per adventure basis. Otherwise, it'd be a great deal of text.
No, and then they're just going to go make the calls themselves now.
Well, on to the next question.
Okay.
This is from OG17, who asks, can races from glitch feats be added to the character's race in the bio, or in the, I guess, on the champion profile dialogue? Maybe with brackets. Could make it easier to see why someone's blocked by a variant.
Right. So this feels like sort of an addition to the earlier question about having changes shown.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised we don't do this, to be honest. Because it sounds like we do it for feats like apply character stat updates, but we just don't do it for ones that update the race.
Right.
So,
well, let's tag it and we'll take a look at it.
Consider it tagged.
Perfect. Next question. This is from Geronthus. Why can't I speak today? I'm having a hard time. Jonathan. Damn it, Justin.
I just pronounce it Jonathan all the time. That's what I think when I see this name. I'm sorry, Jorathonus. I've seen the D&D movie too many times.
How many times have you seen it?
Too many.
It's like once.
I played the fifth. More than two.
Or the Canadian equivalent. All right. In Events 2.0, it starts you with the option to add +1 champion of your choice to the event. Is this picked from option 1, all champions that exist but are not in the event already, option 2, all champions you own but are not in the event already, or option 3, a subset of champs that you own who are determined by some hidden game mechanic, for example, free time gate weekends. Or option 4, none of the above.
So it is option 4. So it's I guess kind of option 3, but it's more straightforward than that. So the flex champions that you can choose from are basically all the other champions that came from that event, plus some of the champions that were orphaned by their events getting nixed. So as I mentioned earlier, for the Festival of Fools, which will be the first event coming up in March, that'll be Strix, Rosie, Briv, Alindra, Tatiana, and Miria, who are all originally from the Festival of Fools. And then Regis and Cathris, and then the Redacted and Redacted as a reworked, a new and a reworked champion.
Okay.
So those will be the ones you get to pick from.
Oh, are you going to answer this question 20, Justin? You like this one? All right.
Yes. Any opportunity I can get to join the players in complaining about this, I will take.
Peter's on vacation, so I don't know how we can throw Peter under the bus for this.
It's not Peter's fault.
Oh. Anyway, let's see. The next question here, this is from OG17. It's not really more of a question per se. It looks like it's just a statement of fact.
Chris, are you watching?
I doubt it, but we'll find out. Yesterday's new blessings were left out of the changelog and the blog again, and they only made it onto the Reddit Q&A. Question mark. It's not really a question. It seems like it's just a statement, but I guess the implied question is why? What gives, Justin?
Yeah. After the last time this happened, I made a note to bring this up with several people. And apparently it still got missed. So I will bring this up again. And the next time I have a one-on-one with Chris, and the next time we have a debrief with Peter, I will once again express my displeasure about this being left out of the changelog.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, obviously if it came in the Reddit Q&A, it wasn't because we stated it in the Reddit Q&A, it's because someone asked about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or Sean included it in the Reddit QA.
Someone's in the chat saying because they asked. So,
anywho, yes,
I think Sean is on the C&E Games account right now, right? Going, shh, nope, yes. Didn't bring it up.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. This is also from OG17. Will there be a legendary dismantle in March?
So legendary dismantles, as I think we mentioned last week, but we'll mention again this week. So our plan for legendary dismantles is that those will be available now as part of our quarterly-ish celebrations. So we normally do about 4 celebrations a year, roughly quarterly, where you get like a week of free stuff. You can open these chests, and if you open 4 of them, you get some bonus stuff as well. So during that time, during that week, we'll do a legendary dismantle. So there'll be 4 of those per year. I'm not sure if we're doing one in March or April. I'm not sure where it lies. I know Chris talked about this yesterday with me, but in my defense, I'm sick, so I can't remember the specifics of whether it was March or April.
Okay. Next question is from Duranathis. Devs would add a mechanic to the game where players can spend Modron pieces to add direction arrows to Modron component without direction arrows. Maybe that's, could you add a mechanic?
Yes, I think this is the old, yeah, can you please make it so we can upgrade our Modron components to be the ones we want without having to randomly get them from chests. We definitely heard this request before. I'm kind of conflicted on this. It is one of the few places in the game where there's some luck still involved in getting the component pieces that you want, and they're not 100% required to get like 99% of the power out of the Modron system. So I kind of like that there's still some excitement to be had there when you're opening those chests, that you could get that piece that you're looking for to really pump up your Modron stuff. Being able to kind of just break down a whole bunch of stuff and then craft it up to me it's less exciting. But I definitely hear the request, and it's a similar kind of thing to, we were talking earlier about how, with year 1 events, we didn't really have the rate at which you could get champions was fine. By the time we got to year 6 events, the rate at which you could get champions was too slow. And the rate at which you could gear them up was too slow. It's probably a similar thing for Modron component pieces, where there was probably a sweet spot where the rate at which you could get those new pieces from chests was okay. It's probably it's probably not at the right balance right now, and so it's probably something to be looking at. But yeah. I think it's definitely something that design will start thinking about, and ways that we can make that a little bit, making sort of completing your Modron cores, for lack of another term, a little bit more achievable.
Right. And if I recall correctly, so the last time we talked about this, you were considering allowing like rotation, but only when you added the 3 dimensions to the Modron cores, so that you had the stacking layer.
I think that was something you were trolling everyone with, but yeah.
Yeah, but you were only going to allow rotation like in sort of the 2D plane, not the 3D plane, which is going to make the whole thing really a lot more.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We do have some core stuff that I did plan out. I did design out some updates to the cores, because I know there were people asking about sort of over leveling the cores after they get to level 15, having something to do with the sort of Modron core XP after that point, which might not solve, but might sort of put off some of this stuff by giving players a little bit more autonomy over how they build their cores. So I think I'll revisit that after we kind of get through this Events 2.0 collection push, and potentially, Modron cores 3.0 or 2.0 or whatever we're at now could be something that could alleviate some of these concerns.
Okay, but you're kiboshing the 3D cores. We're just
yes. For now.
Okay. Next question. Yes. Fewer Pills asks, what happened with the Avron unlock on yesterday's adventure drop? It was even part of the blog post and explained to us on Discord as intended, but then removed, due to obviously not being a good idea, to include a permanent event champion unlock on a normal adventure.
Yeah, this one, I'll take some of the blame for this one here. I'll fall on the sword for this one here. This was something that it got designed. There's a bunch of stuff that as a designer I design in the game still, and then there's a bunch of stuff that I don't pay as much attention to. and the rewards from that variant was something that I did not pay as much attention to as I should have. And at the point at which it went out, I was like, that doesn't seem like a good idea. And so when we were thinking about what to do about it, once the feedback started to come in, I pushed to have that get removed from the adventure. So it was designed and intended to go as a reward on that adventure. But then once I kind of noticed that, once I started paying attention in the production
You mean once
meeting,
it was brought to your attention?
once it was brought to my attention. To be fair, it was called out, though not as loudly as I would like it to have been in production meetings and the kickoffs leading up to that. I just honestly, it somehow the fact that was part of it completely slipped by me.
Yes.
So yeah, obviously it was not a good idea to include a permanent event champ unlock on a event variant. It sets a very bad precedent, and so yeah, it was removed as quickly as we could get it removed. And hopefully stuff like that will not happen again.
Yes, I do enjoy reading through that yesterday after it was brought to my attention. You're like, why are we doing this? And it's like, you were told like every week for the last 2 months.
I went back through the kickoff for that release, and I went back through the production meeting slides, and it was there. But I told Dupuy, if we're gonna do something that's like a brand new feature that we haven't done in 6 years, we got to make it not just bold, but like in really big text. And then like somebody needs to like tap me on the shoulder after you announce it and be like, hey, were you paying attention or were you playing Minesweeper while we were doing that meeting? And
yes.
Yeah.
And not brought up in a post titled, "This is why we can't have nice things." Okay. Yeah. Next question. We're almost out of time, so let's even get through a couple more.
Let's get through these important questions.
Yes,
I see you've got an important one.
Very important question here. Emote would like to know if for Justin, the Constitution is a dump stat. You seem to be ill quite a lot. Yeah. What are you doing in the boxes again, Justin?
Well, the difference between me and you, Dave, is I have 2 kids in daycare, and so I get to be sick more than you.
Is that
but
true?
Yeah,
is that a thing? Are parents just sick all the time? I bet I can find counterexamples.
We got walking petri dishes going to daycare every day. Anyway, yeah, we just put my 14-month-old in daycare, and so she's brought home some very tasty something called RSV. Apparently, it's a horrible thing. So yeah. I've got kids. That's why I'm ill all the time.
I think you'd have built up a tolerance by now, though, Justin. I don't know.
The problem was COVID. COVID like reset everything, right? So like the first 2 years of my first child with no like daycare, no
have
like
any
play
exposure.
dates. No, we didn't have any exposure. We were like the healthiest we've ever been. And then of course she went to daycare.
Systems were the weakest they'd ever been.
Exactly. She went to daycare. She was in a smaller daycare initially, and now they're both in like a bigger daycare center, and so it's like anything goes in there, it comes through our house, it ravages everything, and we just blah.
Well, let's answer something slightly more pleasant.
We're just getting all the diseases back to back to back.
Okay.
And that's my medical opinion on it. So for those of you who are opposing my medical knowledge,
no.
How dare you?
Let's stick to something we know about, which is a question here from Fewer Pills. Why is the next Emergence event already in 2 weeks? Is it just a coincidence, or will they keep being so fast after each other now that seasons are gone?
I asked the exact same question when I saw on the calendar that we were having a second Emergence event. And the reason for this is that the collections dialogue is coming out in 2 weeks. And a whole bunch of the collections dialogue rewards are corrupted gems. So we wanted to make sure that the Emergence shop was stocked with stuff you could get for those. So whenever we have an Emergence, the Emergence shop is kind of like double stocked with stuff from the previous Emergence and the next Emergence, or the new Emergence. And so, there'll be a bunch of stuff for you to purchase with all of the corrupted gems you get from claiming all of the guide and collection quests that you already have completed, having played the game for 6 years.
Okay.
I like questions like that are easy to answer and have like a good, satisfying answer.
It's like, short answer, no.
Okay. Do we have time for
We can do
one more?
one more, and then yeah, let's do one more.
This next one here, the last one of the day, is from a Phoenixinian Ultimatum, who asks, can we get favorite champions on the Legendary Forge interface? It would be nice to narrow down all champs with legendary gear down to a curated list that the current set of filters could not allow in their current form. They want to be able to star champions.
Yes, I'm nice.
And then track them in the quest tracker. Wait, now.
Yes, that is why I tagged this one. It does sound like not a bad idea. We sort of have to take a look at how that's sort of laid out, but being able to tag them so they show up at the top or somewhere that's isolated, well, seems like a good idea to me. Boom, it's yellow.
Awesome.
All right. I think we are out of time, though.
Yes, if we didn't get to your question this week, do not worry. You will have another opportunity. Hopefully, we will be live again at this same time next week. Before we sign off, though, we'd like to thank our tireless mods. This week it was Sean and Mars. They're the two folks who copy your question. This week, they're the two folks who copy your questions into our questions doc and make things awesome in chat. So thanks to both of you.
And of course, thanks to all of you for hanging out, watching the stream, asking such great questions, and for enjoying the game. Because without you, none of us would get to do what we do.
We like what we do.
Yeah, that's it. That's enough. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.
Bye.
Boy.
Boy, indeed.
Have you ever read the dictionary, Justin?
No.
Well, the storyline was really hard to follow, but it had its defining moments.
You're making me sicker.